Hey guys, welcome to my YouTube channel. This is the channel. Let me tell you exactly what is this channel is all about. This is the channel where we're going to learn about applied mathematics in machine learning and artificial intelligence. Basically, what is the math behind machine learning and how do it is applied, how do it work. We're going to talk about that. And there are a lot of things. If you feel interested about this particular domain, that how maths work, you just feel free just feel free to like and subscribe to my channel and press the bell icon. So, in this specific video, we are going to learn about functions. How do the functions work, and how do we need that particular concept in our real life scenario? How do we use functions? So, we will go through these topics. First, we talk about what is functions. Then we talk about functions format, how it is work, what is the terminology and notations we use, what is dependent variable we talk about. We talk about why do we need a function in real life, and then we will talk about history of a function. Then we talk about types of function based on the algebraic expression, graphical shape, and mapping and set theory, and then we conclude our video. So let's get started, guys. If you like this particular video, don't forget to leave the comment, and I will be so happy to answer you all. So let's start. So my first question will be like, how will you define a function? How will you define a function in general format? In general, how will you do that? So think about this, and let me give you the answer of this particular question. How can someone think about this? A function can be defined. A function can be defined. A function can be defined as a rule. As a rule. एक second, 1 second, please. 1 second. As a rule for transforming. Sorry guys for my handwriting. I know that it is very bad. Just sorry guys. Transforming an object to another object. So is it here we can also think like in this way. A function can also defined as a machine where you put something in, call input, and second you put something in here append something, and then you will get an output. This can be also used as a as a general format to explain functions, and most of the good books also explain this particular concept in this way: input and output relationship. It's a relationship between input and output. So let's go in further details. So here as you can see here, as you can see in maths, in maths, in maths, input we call as domain of a function, and output we call codomain of a function. Codomain of a function. So guys, these two particular words are important, and we can also define domain and codomain in a particular range. It is defined in a particular range for certain kind of functions. What is the exactly mean of this? We can talk about this someday later in another video. But you can remember this. These are this domain and codomain can be defined in a particular range of a number line, or it can be defined any real number for any real number for any real number. It is specifically mentioned. So yeah. Now we talk about why do we need a function. One of the most important, I believe, why do we need a function? Why this particular concept makes sense? So let me tell you guys why do we need a function. First point, a function helps us to define Wait a second, guys. A function help us to define relationship between two variables, relationship between two values. I can say relationship between two values. And also, and the most important, I believe, because it is the property of functions, one of the most important property of functions, which we can say something like each input, each value you put in, each input has only one output, has only one output. Okay. And third point I can say, which is important, it helps us to predict the future. Functions help us to predict the future. In machine learning, in the context of machine learning, we usually do this by certain kind of functions we use in our daily life. Certain kind of functions. We will talk what are that functions, because this particular concept can take. If I try to explain this, it will take not 20 to 30 minutes, specifically. So, in general, in an overview manner, I will tell you, functions help us to define the relationship between past and the future. So it becomes very useful. This particular concept becomes very useful. Uh, Certainly, there are some more other concepts also used in this process, but functions is one of them. And as you can see, it helps us to define relationship between past and future. And with this, you can exactly forecast the future, make decisions, or you can do anything. It can be used in organization, business, any scenario, any scenario. So yeah, so far we talked about what is a function. Like I told you, it's a machine where you put something in, you get something out. And I told you input is called domain and output is called codomain. And I by far I told you why do we need a function. And now I will give you some examples, some notations specifically. How do we write a function? A function and some things like that. In maths, functions are defined something like this. Here, we can say f is a function of x. By this, we means to say f is a function of x. So, where x is an input variable, input variable. So, let me give you an example. You can write f of x equals to x plus 2. Here, here you can see this and this and say something like this. It whatever you put in x, whatever the value you put in x, it will adds up to 2 and give you an output. It is something like if you put something in, it's an input. You put something here, it will be add up to 2 and it will be give you an output. Hope you guys are understanding my point, basically what I'm trying to say here. For example, if you put 1 here, it will be add up to 2 and you will get the output of 3. So so from here we can also learn a particular concept which we call dependent and independent variable. So how do we what is the meaning of dependent and independent variable? Uh, Independent variable are basically those independent variable are input variables which are controlled by us, basically. In simple words, the values which we put by ourselves. Here the independent variable is x and the dependent variable is we get the output of. Let me give you an example. Let me give you a good example. uh, I suppose that we all studied a particular subject, a particular formula in our childhood. The formula we called is the formula is area of circle. Area of circle. Area of circle was equals to pi r square. Here you can say a is a function of r. where r is an independent variable, and when you put r here, what you get? You will get the area, which is equals to dependent variable. Dependent variable. So now, if we move further, if we move ahead, so what are the things we can define here? Something like a equals to pi r square, and when you draw a graph, so usually, unless and until non-specified, independent variable are always showed on the x-axis. X-axis. It is always shown on the independent side of the. It is always used in independent, and this side always used dependent variable. Dependent variable. So yeah. So yeah, guys. By far we talked about a equals to pi r square. A equals to pi r square, where r becomes an independent variable. Independent variable. So if I ask you a question, if I ask something like you a question, for example, let me let me let me let me ask a question. How will you how will you define a function where r becomes a dependent variable? Dependent variable. How can you guys do that? Let me give you an formula written over. How can you guys do that? Think about this. Just feel free to pause this particular video and think about this. Now let me give you the answer. You can think in something like this way: a equals to pi r square. You can solve it this way. You can bring pi up to upon a like this, and you can move root here, and you can give r, where r becomes the dependent variable and a becomes the independent variable. And you can also think in this way. You can also think in this way. You can define another function called c, which is called cost function. Basically, by cost function, I mean to say the expense we get by painting in particular area of a particular circle, if we want to paint it. So you can define cost. You are just supposing here. Suppose uh, you will define something like c equals to 5a, where you multiply area by 5 times, and then you will get the cost of the paint. So you can define in this way: a equals to 5 into pi r square, where r also become an independent variable, and c is the dependent variable. There are a lot of things we can do with this particular function. Now let me show you a graphical representation of area and radius. Here, as you can see, with the increasing value of r on x-axis, the value of area of circle, which is dependent variable, increasingly quadratically in a quadratic manner. You can also see over here, I written over here. The x-axis show the radius r, independent variable. The y-axis show the dependent variable, and the curve shows the area increasing non-linearly quadratic manner, and as the radius increases. So yeah, this is the representation. And also you can say the codomain cannot be negative. Codomain cannot be negative, because area cannot be negative. So yeah, so now we talked about, by far we talked about everything. By far we talked about what is a function, why do we need a function, what is independent dependent variable, uh, uh, and we use some examples over here. We get a visual representation of one particular example. And so yeah, in the next video, in the next video. We will talk about history of a function and types of functions. So yeah, this will be the part two. The next video will be part two of this particular part functions series. This function video, part two. I will put in the next day. So yeah, thank you for your patience, guys, and feel free to subscribe my channel and hit the bell icon and like this particular video. And whenever I put any video, just stick around with me. We will go in some deeper concepts also. So yeah, thank you guys.